Welcome again to The Insider, the official podcast for the city of Murfreesboro. I'm Mike Browning. Our guest today is Mary Beth Nevills, who has been the coordinator for Cannonsburgh Village for a number of years. That's the pioneer feature that has been part of Murfreesboro's landscape for a long time. In fact, it's been a part of the landscape for 50 years, and that's why we're celebrating the 50th anniversary. It was 1976 that Cannonsburgh was born.
That's right. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary this past Friday, and we had a great celebration. Hot, but wonderful.
So tell me more about what that was like. What were some of the features that maybe you wouldn't have seen there if you went on a normal day?
Well, of course, we had live music, bluegrass, and Southern gospel in the chapel. We had barbecue, a great area under the pavilion to sit and eat barbecue, a quilting bee where you could sit down, and a local quilting club showed you how to quilt on quilt stretchers. We also had students from the cultural arts perform Murfreesboro in the buildings, telling you about the buildings. But our most exciting to me was the reopening of the Haynes Museum.
And what was the Haynes Museum doing during this past 5 years? Why was it closed?
It's been closed for renovations, and we've worked on it over those 5 years to get it back open, and this was the opportunity for the 50th.
Who worked on that? Because I did peek in on that day that we celebrated, and I noticed that a lot of work had been done. There were some new displays that appeared, or at least they had been redone. And it looked really sharp.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a team effort. We have a wonderful group of people at Cannonsburgh, along with facility maintenance, came and helped us with a lot of the heavy lifting. There's some big things in that museum. So they helped us. We also, through funding from City of Murfreesboro and 2 capital campaign grants from the state of Tennessee, we were able to do work inside and out to get it ready for our visitors. And it was a great time to update and refresh some of the exhibits inside.
You mentioned music, that you had the old-time music, I guess it was there. Music was a big part of the early American and early Tennessee history.
Yeah, you know, when the village is full of live music, it's happy. The people are going around, and as they're going in the buildings, they can hear it in the background. But when we've got great bands like the Stones River Bluegrass Band that we had Friday, you can also sit and listen and enjoy.
And that's what they did back in that time, and I
Sure.
guess to avoid some boredom or just to celebrate a day's work.
And pass the time.
Yep. What from Cannonsburgh, from a perspective of someone who's worked there for a number of years, what is there? Like, what are the features, and what have we brought there in order to share with people?
Well, Cannonsburgh houses 20 structures, and within those 20 structures, we're really fortunate to have well over 2,000 artifacts spread around the buildings. So collections of books, and of course you've got the furniture and all the little things that sit around the buildings, and those add up when you start to take a good count of them. It represents 100 years of Tennessee life. So you're starting back with the log cabins in rural Tennessee life, and it gets you through where we have the telephone building that gets us into the 1930s time period.
I noticed there was a city hall there too.
There is a city hall, and the town council that ran Cannonsburgh early on, that's where they would have their meetings.
Actually have their meetings.
They did actually have so it was actually used when they had their meetings.
And of course there's a place for weddings, like a chapel. And people have done that there.
Yes, weddings have, ever since it opened. It's been a source of revenue, but a very useful way to enjoy the chapel. We still have weddings throughout the year. We also have a couple of buildings that we rent out for receptions and baby showers, family reunions.
Visitors come and go pretty freely because you don't charge for tickets. So it's really hard to know how many people visit Cannonsburgh on a yearly basis.
In 2025, we welcomed over 27,000 people to the property, and they were using it through festivals, tours, programs, rentals, classes with the organizations that are housed there. And we have people from 49 states and 47 countries. And that was in 1 year in 2025.
And of course, when Dave Macon Days was celebrated there, that brought a lot of people.
It did. It was a very big festival.
Let's talk about the future. There was a time about a year or two ago where there was a concern that maybe Cannonsburgh Village might go away, and that's not going to happen. It's a fixture in Murfreesboro. But what would you like to see in the future?
I'm excited for the future of Cannonsburgh. Now that we've spent this time in the last couple years planning for our 50th anniversary, and we've learned more about who created Cannonsburgh and the involvement from the community, we have an opportunity to reach out to so many new people that have moved here and help them have that same meaning and that same love of Cannonsburgh. So through new events, new programs, new exhibits, I hope that we can reach not only the new people that have moved to town and don't know where Cannonsburgh is, but also those who maybe they've descended from the people that helped to form it, people that longtime Murfreesboro that maybe say, oh, I went there when I was a kid on a field trip, and get them back and they can share it with their families now.
Because it is a great place for gathering outside.
Yes, and it's so family friendly. It's fun for all ages, whether it's the toddlers that are coming to see the big tractors or our senior adults who come and are able to share their own memories with us as they walk through.
As you were preparing for the 50th celebration, I know you had to do some research and go into some background. What were some of the things that you learned from that?
Well, it was really fun. I came up to City Hall and read through the City Council minutes just to kind of get an idea of what was in the mind of the council members. Of course, it's very vague when it's in minutes, but it does give you a little bit of an idea of maybe where they were coming from when they were thinking about this. And then through newspaper articles, back then the photographer showed up to everything they did, or the person writing the article. And so there's a great trail of kind of how it grew and where it started to go through those newspaper articles. And then through reaching out to people who were part of its history, like Fred Trujillo, who was the program coordinator early on, Ewing Sellers, who was one of the town mayors. So we've been able to reach out to some people and, find out how they felt and what they're looking forward to also.
So how was it founded? Whose idea was it, or what group of people decided that they would bring these buildings to Murfreesboro and start a village?
Well, Mayor Westbrooks, who was the mayor at the time, had always had a dream for this pioneer village. And the Horizons Committee, which was working on plans for the Bicentennial, the celebration that they were going to have in 1976 for the America 200 birthday, they kind of took his idea and thought, well, this is a great time. The city, and a lot of things fell in place. The city had just been gifted the land where Cannonsburgh sits from the owner of the Haynes Cotton Gin. And also the interstate had gone in, and they wanted a way to keep people downtown. They were able to apply and get a federal grant, a $75,000 grant, and that helped them acquire log cabins throughout the county that they could dismantle and bring to Cannonsburgh or move in one piece.
So that was work. I mean, it took a lot of work to find the facilities or the structures and then bring them to this location, and then sometimes have to rebuild them, right?
Yeah. But I think once the word got out that this is what they were working on, then people would contact the committee and say, well, I have this and I have this, and what do you want? And it kind of fell together. But it was a lot of work, and it was so many people in the community and volunteers that jumped in and were part of the entire project. Dr. Huda with MTSU was on the Bicentennial committee, and he was instrumental in really helping to pull the project together.
You mentioned Haynes Museum, or what was the Haynes
Cotton gin.
Cotton gin. That's a historic structure in and of itself, is it not?
Well, so the cotton gin was what was located on the property, along with a lot of other industrial buildings. And in the mid-1970s, the cotton production had really dropped, and Mr. Haynes closed up in 1974. The warehouse, the brick building in the back of our site now, is the only original building to the site. When Cannonsburgh first opened, the cotton gin was still there. As far as I know, it was never open to the public to go through. The restoration never took place on it. And at some point in maybe the early 90s, it was damaged by a storm and finally dismantled. When you're in the village today, there's a nice green field between the doctor's office and the chapel. And that was the foundation
for the cotton gin.
The cotton gin, yes.
And the Haynes Museum is, like you said, the warehouse.
It was the warehouse where they would, in fact, the scales are still on the floor, and the last bale of cotton that was ginned on the property.
So what was on the property was kind of an industrial area then that ended up being donated to the city?
It was very industrial, and Mr. Haynes donated his portion, and then the city was able to acquire some of the other areas right there together to give a big enough area.
Okay. And you've talked about how it was founded, that there was a committee. I mean, when did that committee start? I assume they had to start before 1976 to accomplish a lot of this.
Looking back at the minutes, I would think it was 74, 75, and you start seeing things in the newspaper in 75 where they're making plans. Cannonsburgh was opened June 26, 1976 for the first time, and that's what we celebrated this past Friday. And then it wasn't 100% completed. They did close it down into the winter. They reopened for Christmas, and it was the first Christmas at Cannonsburgh that year. And then they had another grand reopening when they opened the season that following May in 1977.
Having a pioneer village within your community is somewhat unique. It's not completely unique. I know there are others, like I think there is one in Quad Cities with the John Deere plant where they have a history museum for John Deere. And then I think there is a large one, as I recall, in Indiana somewhere. But how do you compare us with maybe some others that you've heard of, or have you heard of some others that are similar to us?
I have heard of others. I don't know if I would necessarily compare us to others. I think that we're unique in the fact that we were a bicentennial project, and we were formed to celebrate America's birthday. That was the whole premise behind why they wanted this village. They wanted it as a way to preserve the past and share it for the future. And we're still able to do that through field trips and events and programs.
So after more than 5 years of being closed for renovations, you've now opened that Haynes Museum that we've talked about. Can you talk about the process and what visitors can expect to see at the museum now, maybe that was already there and they might have seen before, and then some of the things that are completely new?
Well, the Haynes Museum, they had a big plan for it when they opened in 1976, and people from the community brought farm implements and things from their own homes, things that they would find at antique stores for the whole village.
So somebody had to curate all that.
They did, yes. And they all came together, like I said, a team of volunteers and their little town council. And they had the museum organized. But, over 50 years, as you get an item that's donated, given that you want to showcase, you fit it in there. And with the museum being closed, it was a great opportunity for us to refresh the inside and the exhibit spaces. And we also have a unique opportunity to tell the Cannonsburgh story now. So all of this information that we have on our last 50 years and what Cannonsburgh was like before, we're able to tell now in the Haynes Museum.
I noticed that the bale of hay is there,
Cotton.
or cotton. I don't know why I said hay, but cotton. Has that been there since the beginning? Or?
Yes.
Yes. And somebody donated that?
Yes, and there's a great photo of them wheeling that that last bale of cotton into the warehouse.
But I can see what you're saying is, people bring artifacts or things that they've had around their barn for years, and they decide, I don't want this anymore, I want to contribute. But then you have to try and take that and kind of make it coalesce or have a theme, to tell the story.
Well, that's where in the museum world, a collections policy comes into place. And we do have a policy and a process for accepting donations, and we've received wonderful donations. While the museum was closed in maybe early 2025, we actually received a partner desk from the Haynes descendants that was used through the warehouse and the cotton gin. They had it in their in storage for years and donated it back. And so it's a great piece of our Cannonsburgh history that we were able to receive back.
And we have a university here, so I guess the assumption is that you've had some help from local historians.
Yeah, we love getting help from, of course it was Dr. Huda with MTSU that was so instrumental in the beginning. And we've worked with several classes through MTSU. And it's always wonderful to include those students. It's hands-on work for them, and it's extra help for us. So yeah, we love to work with the university.
Because they do have a public history
yes.
academic program at MTSU, and they learn how to build panels and to show history and museum background, that kind of thing. So looking forward to the future again, in terms of having additional events. Now, there are events at Cannonsburgh throughout the year.
Yes,
already.
Yes,
right?
Weekly, monthly events. We have programs for all ages. Our larger events coming up would be this fall. We started Village After Dark last year and won a state award for it through the Tennessee Association of Museums, and we're really looking forward to a second year for that. That'll be mid-October when we decorate the village for fall, but also it's a unique time to go in after dark. We're not always there at nighttime, and the village has a different feel at night, and so it was really a fun, family-friendly event.
And that's a time for children and teenagers to learn about the lack of electricity and how they did light, right?
Well, yeah. Village After Dark is just a really fun time for people of all ages, all families, to come and enjoy the village at night.
So you do have candles, or how do you light them?
We have lanterns and other lighting that we are able to use and give it a good feel for when you go through.
And when will that be?
That is mid-October, and then right after that we have Harvest Days. And as soon as we get through Harvest Days, we start decorating for Cannonsburgh Christmas. And this will be our second year with the way that we've done it, where you can actually walk through the village for the 6 nights of Cannonsburgh Christmas.
So right now it's decorated for Independence Day or for the celebration of America's 250th birthday. Give us an idea of what you've done to decorate it for this celebration.
It's been really fun. We have bunting on all of the buildings, and along the sidewalks there's flags and pinwheels, and it's just been a great way to add color to our buildings in the village.
What is one change that people may notice if they go to Cannonsburgh now. And the one thing I noticed, you had the steam engine. I think that's what it was. You explained to me what type of implement it was, but you had that outside and it was actually operating.
So the one that was there for the 50th is very similar to the one that we have on the property. That one was from some farmers in Rutherford County that brought it to demonstrate for that day. But right across the driveway from it is the case steam engine, traction steam engine that we have. And through donations, we were able to have it media blasted and painted in 2025. So it's shiny and looks so nice.
So the one that was there then that was operating was brought there as a demonstration.
Yes.
And it looked really nice and it was working well. But we also have one similar to it, but not the exact type that is ours.
Correct.
For the city.
Yes. We've also worked on the caboose on the property this past year. We received a Tennessee Tourism Enhancement Grant, and through that we have worked on the exterior of the caboose. It's been cleaned and painted. Steps have been added, and we're in the process of hopefully getting the windows replaced.
And at one time, there was a fire pump truck from Nashville that was in a building there, and it was refurbished and then put in Fire Station 4.
Yes, you can see it at the fire station.
But it was actually at Cannonsburgh Village for a number of years.
Yes, it was. And they did such a great job with the restoration of it.
So when you look at Cannonsburgh Village, it's a place for people to go back in time and to see what life was like and what the buildings and structures and what they had inside those structures were like. Why is it so important that we get a glimpse of this, that we go back in time and see what it was like? Why do we celebrate people, places, and things like this?
Well, coming to Cannonsburgh is such a great opportunity to look back at your past, how we lived, how we functioned, everyday life. Especially, we have the field trips that come through. So especially for those kids to come through and get a sense of what it was like with no electricity, no batteries, even though we have electricity, it's still a great learning tool for them to get a feel for it, something you can't get in the classroom. So I think that by being able to share what the past was like, that we can give meaning to those visitors.
What are some of the most common comments or questions, opinions that some of the visitors have about Cannonsburgh?
They love Cannonsburgh, and we get people from all over the United States and all over the country, and they all bring their own perspective to when they visit. They have their own stories of what they've seen in their own areas, and they're able to compare it to. And they share their stories with us, and so that makes our jobs fun too.
And one thing that I would neglect if we didn't mention it, but there are people that actually are stationed, docents I guess you would call them, or people who share the ideas of what was going on, and they were there at the celebration, and they're there sometimes during the week, the blacksmithing, for example.
We have several organizations that are housed on site. The Rutherford County Blacksmith Association, and they demonstrate during our larger events. During the summer, they have been coming, so I think during July, they will be demonstrating on Thursday mornings from 9 to noon. The Murfreesboro Art League is housed in the back of the property, and they have their gallery open every Saturday and Sunday during our regular business hours. And then also the Stones River Car Club. They operate out of the Antique Auto Garage, and they have car events different times throughout the year.
Okay. Well, for more information, I wanted to make sure that people knew on Cannonsburgh, including the hours of operation, you can visit murfreesboroparks.com and then locate Cannonsburgh Village as one of the facilities on the Murfreesboro Park website. Or you can call, make sure this number is right, 615-890-0355.
Sure.
Is that the right number?
Absolutely.
And they can contact you if they have questions.
They can ask for me.
Well, Mary Beth Nevills, Facility Coordinator for Cannonsburgh Village, thanks a lot for being a part of The Insider.
Thank you.
We've been highlighting Cannonsburgh Village, the pioneer town's 50th anniversary as the nation celebrates its 250th birthday. This podcast originated from City Hall. Thanks for listening on our multiple platforms. Our producer is Michael Nevills. You've been listening to The Insider, the official podcast for the City of Murfreesboro. I'm Mike Browning. Thanks for joining us.